Alright, time to make some paper mache paste. I love making paper mache paste because it is redonkulously easy. All you need are your ingredients. Some glue. Liquid starch, which I will show you how to make copious quantities of in some video that I will no doubt link to this thing. Flour. And a mixer that you don't plan on using for food anytime soon. Possibly a 1 cup measuring cup as well, that you also don't plan on using for food anytime soon. Alright, I stole this recipe from Mr. Scott A. Stall with a beautiful website called Stolloween, where he does the same stuff, only much better than me. Starting 6 cups of flour after you add a little water. Little water in the bottom. A little more than that. Into one of those mixing bowls that I think I mentioned in the materials section. Sure hope I did. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yay. 1 cup of liquid starch. If you keep it in the fridge, it pretty much never goes bad. 1 cup of glue. Oh no, I've got glue in my measuring cup. How terrible. Thank God this whole thing needs a bit more water anyway. Alright, I would love to give you an exact measurement for the water, but quite frankly, there just isn't one. It's all pretty much an approximation. But everything here is pretty much water soluble anyway, so it cleans up incredibly easy. Now our tape mixer that we don't plan on using for any kind of food ever. And start to mix. Okay, if your machine is making horrible hurting noises, it's too thick. The more you know. And you can just keep washing out your measuring cup while you add more water. Does hot or cold water matter? Probably not. I just use hot because that's what's my inclination to do when I'm trying to dissolve stuff in other stuff. Okay. Too thick. The measurement that was given to me when I originally narked the recipe was it should be about as thick as thin pancake batter. That's about standard pancake batter from what I guess. I'm not a huge maker of pancakes. Fat enough, thank you very much. Now we just keep washing out our measuring cup till it seems about right. And don't worry, I will give you a measurement of about right. Don't be shy about getting down to the bottom. There's going to be a bunch of coagulated flour down there. Okay, let's check the consistency. How do we do that? We dive in. This stuff feels like absolute mush on my hand. So that's probably a bit too thick. It's very gloopy. So. A little too thick still. So we'll keep washing out our measuring cup. Okay, none of it's really sticking in a major way to the beaters, which is a good sign. Group test. That's not bad. Yeah, so thin pancake batter is the standard of measurement, which is totally meaningless to anyone who doesn't make pancake batter. But I'm happy with this batch. So in normal circumstances, I would just bottle this thing and be all set. But I want to give you a little bit better idea of what the hell good is like. So I'm going to give this a pour. And you can kind of see the type of pour you're looking for. I consider this to be a pretty good batch. So it's about that viscosity. It's not pouring like water. That's about what you got. Best of luck to you. Trial and error. It's really disgustingly simple. And it's so dirt cheap, it doesn't really matter if you screw it up. Unless you get it all over your sponge. But hey, water soluble. Yeah. Alright, no, I don't normally keep my flour there when I'm making this stuff. I just had to show the ingredient as well. It's time for bottling and cleanup. My fridge. I like to refrigerate my stuff because I usually just keep a batch running as I go. My fridge is not large enough to accommodate a huge arse bowl all the time. So I get myself a nicer, smaller Tupperware type container. Dollar store. I'm going to keep it in there. Getting every last drop is pointless. This stuff is cheap as dirt. So don't feel the need to be super thrifty. Clean up. Thank God, like I said, all water soluble. And the beaters are clean. Yeah, no, not in the water. Electric appliances, not in the water. Very bad idea. How much will you need? At least one of those batches. Possibly two, depending on the size of your pumpkin. But there you go. All nicely set and done and ready for mache work. Alright everybody, it's time to actually start layering this thing. This is arguably the most time-consuming phase of the project, and considerably, possibly, maybe, the one that is the least fun. But if you throw on your favorite scary music in the background and get to it, it goes pretty quick. So here we have our pumpkin form, our freshly made mache paste, and my bucket down here, and a whole mess of paper strips ready to go. Now the old way of doing this, which makes an enormous mess, is to actually take the paper strip, dunk it completely into the fluid, and then start adding it on to your pumpkin. This sucks. It absolutely sucks. Because what happens is invariably the space between your mache paste container and your pumpkin becomes an absolute wet spot full of mache paste. It's horrid. So instead, what we do, and the beautiful fellow Mr. Scott Stahl showed me this. We take a paintbrush and we just liberally paint the area we're going to be laying paper strips on. And we take a paper strip and plop it down. And then we coat the top of the paper strip with paste. Done. Rinse and repeat. No, don't rinse. Whatever you do, don't rinse. But this is the process. Slather. Add a strip. And the strips I'm using are fairly wide because I want to cover area quickly. I'm not trying to do anything fine or fancy. I'm just trying to cover. And this way you don't get a puddle of paste between your paste source and your mold. Or form, I should say. If you want to be really snazzy, you can say armature. Take your strips. I got one of my crevices here. Thump it right in. And paste it down. This is, for all intents and purposes, not even that, it's just wet paper. Wet paper goes wherever the hell you put it, and it stays there. Unfortunately, by the fibrous nature of cellulose, when it comes back, it's going to harden right in place with both glue, starch fibers, and flour fibers, keeping it right there. The painting method also lets you paint stuff down. I just have to mush that in there, and it follows pretty true to form. You're going to want to be safe 6 layers of stuff. I've tried it with only 3, and what happens is your final product tends to start feeling really flimsy. So 6 is a nice, good number that'll keep you safe, keep your project in good shape. You shouldn't have to worry about it being tough enough. Now here's that hole I made earlier. Some of this paste is going to get in here, and it's going to start to go moldy before the end. If you have a mold allergy, be really careful. Or don't use this type of paste. You can just as easily take regular white glue, water it down, and get the same result. So you do not have to use a flour-based paste. I will link to a fellow who I got a number of ideas from who uses just that method. And that way you never have to worry about your paste going moldy, which is a hazard I face, but I really don't care. Now some of you are looking at this already and seeing this huge cavity in here, and you're going, God, that's going to look like crap. I don't care. I'm just going to mache over it. At this point, I just want to get a solid form in place. Incidentally, my workstation is a slight upgrade. I have a little lazy Susan under here and a big useless plate to keep things stable. So at any moment here, I am probably going to speed this plate up. If I haven't already, I probably have already. $5 as I've done it already. Get this thing layered. Okay. And with that, your first layer is complete. And from here on out, it's just doing it a whole bunch of times, get thorough coverage of the entire top, and just keep on rolling until you get your layers. Again, usually about 6 is fantastic. You will tend to get a bit thicker on the top as you lay pieces over to cover. And then once your entire top is done, stop and let it dry overnight at least. It should be a good dry surface, and then you'll get started on the bottom. I'm just going to keep going. I should also note that if you think you've screwed up at any point up to here, you haven't. The whole point of doing this is just getting you something to build off of for the later stuff, constructing that base model from which you can work. And it doesn't matter if this is pretty or hideous. All it has to be is somewhat solid. Well, that's not all the layers, but I am going to take a break. I'm going to throw the fan on this thing, probably leave it more than likely overnight. And I'll wash off my brush so it's in good shape for tomorrow, and continue with this then. From time to time, you may have seen me stop and put some pieces on the top. That's because I didn't think the top was getting enough reinforcement. Normally, I take strips from the top to about halfway down, but as my strips were going so nice on the side, I just kept up there. And to make up the difference, every now and again, stop, tear off a couple, throw them on the top, and slather them. All right, good stuff, good start. And I will see you when I resume this next. Of course, no time is going to pass for you guys on YouTube. Lucky bastards. Alright, we're back after an evening of drying, and it's time to get this thing a little bit more done. It's daylight, there's a beautiful thunderstorm going outside, so we continue the layering process. Every now and again, overnight, you might find that some of your Mache paste constituents sink to the bottom, leaving a little layer of kind of a filmy, watery way on the top. And all you need to do to fix that is before you start, make sure you're top sealed on your container and just give it a quick mix up. Make sure everything is nice and blended. And then begin again. If you are worried that anywhere might not be getting enough layers, just go ahead, stop, and tear some pieces up and layer it on. Concerned about any foldovers or lips you might have, just take a band-aid, slap it on, clean it down. Done. Well, I'm reasonably assured that that's probably about 6 layers, or pretty damn close. Maybe 5, definitely not 4, but probably 6. So I'm going to throw a fan on this thing and just let it sit and dry, and then when it's all set and done, we will begin on the bottom. I'll catch you on the other side.